Been just over 2 weeks since a Corpus Christi police officer was shot and seriously wounded in the line of duty. Tonight, we're taking a deep dive into this story. What's happened to the case so far? We've also got an update on the injured officer and community efforts to help him out. And we'll also go in depth into the background of the apartment complex where that shooting happened. Was this a tragedy just waiting to happen? First, let's get you caught up on the case itself.
Yeah, so far no hearing dates have been set for Joshua Powell, that 20-year-old who is accused of shooting Corpus Christi police officer earlier this month. Powell is charged with attempted capital murder for the August 4th shooting of senior officer Manuel Dominguez. That shooting happened at the Watercolor Apartments on Weber. Police had gone there to serve a warrant to arrest Powell for allegedly hitting a pregnant woman last year. Powell reportedly opened fire and then hit Officer Dominguez several times. According to his family, Dominguez lost an eye in the shooting. Now, an anonymous tip is what led Powell's arrest that next day at the complex, not far from the scene of the shooting. Police say a $10,000 reward has been approved for the person who made that tip. Powell remains in the Nueces County Jail on a more than $1 million bond. He is charged with attempted capital murder along with an assault charge. No hearing dates have been set for Powell.
Police have been called to the Watercolor Apartments several times in the last 4 years. It's home to a lot of folks, some trying to raise their families there, but some say that's hard to do when they see crime all around. The complex now has a new owner and plans to turn things around. Javier Guerrera is there live for us right now with an in-depth look at those plans and the apartment complex's troubled history. Javier.
Hey, Pat, residents here on the south side of town at the Watercolor Apartments, formerly known as the Marbella Apartments, say they are ready for change. They say this new ownership, they're hoping with that new ownership, they'll find some sense of safety.
And is this something that has gotten worse throughout the years?
It's gotten bad.
Fear is what runs through this woman's mind. She calls the Watercolor Apartment complex home. We'll call her Maria, who asked us to keep her identity concealed. She says she's heard the gunshots in the area at all times of the day, and she no longer lets her grandchildren go outside to play.
It can happen anytime, daytime, nighttime, and these kids can be outside. These are all my grandbabies.
The Watercolor Apartments, formerly known as the Marbella Apartments, up until new ownership took over, this summer has had a history of crime. We reached out to the Corpus Christi Police Department to determine how many calls have stemmed from the complex since 2018. From 2018 till now, there have been a total number of 2,133 calls made from the apartment complex.
So we do realize this happens, and our officers that work the beat, they do whatever they can to try to minimize those. But when you have a large number of people living in a confined area, things happen.
Senior Officer Travis Pace with CCPD tells Chris 6 News they do the best they can to protect citizens. We broke down the top incidents. To date, residents called police 59 times over suspicious activity just this year alone. CCPD received 8 reports of shots fired at this complex this year.
At this particular location, you will get serious calls. I mean, it's throughout the city of Corpus Christi.
The Watercolor Apartments were recently purchased in mid to late June by Welker Properties in Dallas.
But I think that we all know that it needed to be cleaned up, and that's what we're here to do. So. General improvements as well.
CEO Andrew Welker says they submitted permits for approval for security enhancements. He plans on securing the property's fencing, better lighting, and adding automatic gates for safety. Private security has even been hired to patrol the area. He does say rent will be increased modestly and will be conducting criminal background checks on potential tenants.
We have strict guidelines on no felons and just. Again, I don't want to speak for the previous owner. I don't, but I believe that I know that the tenant base is gonna significantly improve with us.
We reached out to Rolando Barrera, councilman for District 3, to learn what the city is doing to ensure not just the safety of residents at Watercolor Apartments, but the safety of neighbors nearby. He tells us he is going to have a talk with Chief Markle.
Definitely going to visit with him to see what it is exactly that we're going to do to ensure that we're getting the coverage that we need in that sector, so that way we can ensure that there's police presence as well.
He also told us that they are already adding speed humps on Caravel to help alleviate speeding in the area. Another neighbor who goes by the name of Jay told us that a drunk driver crashed through the security fence and hit a nearby unit.
They coming into the
broke through the fence and they hit our apartment right across from me.
And so, are you hoping to see change? Are you hoping?
Well, yeah, I hope so. Like, you know, nobody likes to live, you know, looking behind their back.
Now, we've reached out to the city's code enforcement department. They haven't gotten back to us yet, but what they did tell us is that they have received violations from this apartment complex, but don't know if there's any recent violations. When we hear back from them, we will let you all know. Also, the new owner of the Watercolor apartment says that this apartment complex will receive a total facelift. This property will not be recognizable in the next couple of months. Reporting in front of the Watercolor Apartments, Javier Guerra, Chris 6 News. Back to you guys.